A very important part of this meeting, hence, is to have the new input from our guests, whom we invite very heartily to take part in our working sessions. The students also are invited to take part in our working sessions and contribute to our work in those sessions, which will be this afternoon and tomorrow. But we also have a special date with, I guess, the official tuning members who are here, so Luke, Mikael, Joachim, myself, that after lunch today we will be discussing how to use tuning methodology and vocabulary, terminology, in order to make the results of our working group transparent and useful for history teachers, researchers, and learners around Europe. So this will be, one of the major challenges of this meeting is to find a common language for CLIOHWORLD based on as is stated in our project, on the tuning methodology and terminology, and make it work. And we want to make it simple, clear, workable. And if we can do this, certainly this meeting will have fulfilled its central role. And I'm sure we can do it. I like to think somehow, even though at that time there was a table down there and we didn't have this green, silver, fake ceiling, all these things, this is where we had our IP in 1998 on empire, states, and regions in, in a European perspective. And some of you who were there and taught in that IP 12 years ago are still here. 1, 2, I see quite a few of them here. So this room seems to have brought us, how shall we say?
This room has gone up in the world as well.
Okay, well,
much better. Unfortunately, the seating has not gone up.
Yeah. It turned around, and there's a lot of, what shall we say, fake postmodern in this 12th century building, which is a little strange. But this has brought us quite a few changes. One of them, that we now have a fire hazard that we didn't before, so we have to be very careful about a lot of things, like not sitting in the halls. But anyway, we're here. We hope that Clio still listens to us from this, this place, and that we will be able to do what we set out to do in this venue. Tomorrow, this is sort of a strange sort of a thing, because in the places where we have our meetings, we usually try to say something about the city and the university. Some of you have been here so many times that I would feel rather embarrassed to say, well, Pisa is the city where this and that and the other. Others, perhaps it's the first time that you're in Pisa. Tomorrow we are planning with, if the powers that be give us not pounding rain, to have walking tours of Pisa, divided between the people that have never been here, the people that have been here and seen the main things, and the people that want to see in the cracks and the corners and have been wandering around Pisa for a long time. So we will have that opportunity tomorrow. We have put this book produced by the University of Pisa in your pack, and I'm sure that everyone can find both instruction and even some humor in it, because it apparently has been translated by someone who knew English very well, but perhaps didn't know Italian too well. And so there's some very strange details that I finally became aware of after having distributed it for quite a number of years, such as the fact that our Aula Magna Storica, our historical Aula Magna, is called the Big History Classroom. But I hope that your tolerance and your, let's say, interest in the variety of human knowledge and events is such that you will be able to take this into your stride. And this book does give quite a bit of interesting information about Pisa, about its university, about the interaction between famous people such as Dante, Galileo, Goethe, Byron, I don't know what, in Pisa, because there are quotes from these gentlemen, in the back. So I think under these circumstances, I do not have to give you a history of Pisa or its university. What I can say, and I know that yesterday we had a small discussion about this with Gerhard Dorn von Rossum, that Pisa prides itself on the fact that it was a center of studies and an important one before the year 1000. And even though there are some upstart universities around Europe that like to think that they are older, this can be discussed. The fact is that, as you have probably discovered in your own universities, when the university starts is always an interesting question, because often universities start and then they stop and then they start up again. And if, such as the University of Coimbra or Bologna or so forth, all started in the 13th century, the University of Pisa got its papal bull in the 14th century, but that was already quite a long ways on into the history of scholarship in the areas of law, letters, medicine in Pisa. And as a matter of fact, it seems that the tower where the University of the Scholars gathered in Pisa before the year 1000 is on Lungarno today. It's englobed into the Victoria Hotel, so it's not possible to observe it from the outside. They took it over from the Wine Dealers University. So, I mean, obviously, the good living and study has always gone forward in such a wealthy and powerful medieval place as Pisa was, until the Black Death and some other minor problems that hit it about when we got the papal bull. Anyway, we will talk more about that, and you can certainly read more about that. I like to think of Pisa also as a place that not only was a very ambitious and proactive medieval seafaring republic until it finally met with a stronger and more determined and nastier one, which was Genoa, but also a place where letters have flourished. Nice story that I like to think of is this, that you may or may not know, which is that when Pisa was finally defeated by Genoa at the shoals of the Meloria, which are just in the sea, just out off Livorno, the way Genoa decided to get rid of Pisa was by capturing all her nobles and keeping them in prison rather than allowing them to be ransomed. And that's where Marco Polo in the Genoese prison met Rustichello da Pisa that wrote it all down. So if we hadn't had Pisans writing, why, we would not have Marco Polo's travels. Another thing I like to think about Pisa is the fact that in the 16th century, in the 16th century and at the end of the 16th century, the famous Leghorn decrees, so-called, were emanated by the Grand Dukes of Tuscany. And these regarded Pisa in the first place and Livorno in the second place, as a matter of fact. But this was a place where people could come if they were, well, Armenians, Greeks, Jews, Protestants, my heavens, whoever, and they could live, practice their religion, and they could study at the university. And this, it seems to me, is a good kind of a story to tell as we start this conference.